When I was a boy, all this was green paddocks, as far as the eye could see. Now, I know that sounds a bit cliched, but with growing population comes urban spread and bigger houses, filling their blocks. But the couple I'm about to meet have a different take on suburbia. They're going to let their land do the talking.
All right. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Mrs. Eberhardt.
Primary school teacher Nina Eberhardt and partner Nigel, a draftsman, are high school sweethearts, born and bred on the north coast of Tasmania. After studying on the mainland, their careers and a love of the outdoors have brought them back to the area. This time to the small town of Turners Beach near Devonport, where the lure of a life by the sea was inescapable.
You know, it just has this beautiful, calm, beachy feel. It has a lovely atmosphere. You know, it's tiny, which we love. Yeah, it's just a really, you know, has a really nice feel, and it's quiet and peaceful, and you can hear the kookaburras in the trees.
So the concept of our house will reflect, I guess, my passion for the environment and Nina's as well, in just the way that it allows us to connect with the outdoors.
And I've got a no front fence policy, it seems.
It's a bit like that, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that.
Is that right? Is there a
No, there isn't.
Everyone's just decided not to do it.
People just, don't do it.
Finding uncleared land to build their nature house in an area built out with neat houses and manicured lawns wasn't easy. But tucked away at the end of a cul-de-sac, they found the last remaining bit of wilderness, an unsport block right for the taking.
I love the fact that our house is going to be surrounded by trees and all the, you know, natural environment on our block. That's the main things for me, just that natural environment being, you know, really connected to it.
I guess it would be great if this home feels like we're on holiday every day that we return from work.
That's the aim.
That is the aim. So to do that, we need to do something that's a little bit different to the norm. And I think that hopefully we'll be able to achieve that with this house that we're designing.
Nice piece of land.
Yeah, we think so.
And a nice smell of sea air behind us. I can hear the waves breaking.
Yeah,
And-
no,
and-
that's one of the reasons that we bought it, because it's 1 or 2 minutes walk from the beach, and we just love being close to the beach.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah, couldn't be better.
Yeah, and you got a few trees to clear to start?
Oh, no. We're going to engage a project arborist and basically see what he thinks on the trees, but this is more of a conservation project in a way, and we're going to try keep everything that you see.
And Nina, I get a sense that this is all Nigel's idea.
No, it's not.
Well, he's designed it.
Have you? So
Yeah.
you've designed it?
I have.
So you're owner and designer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whether I've done a good job of the design, I'm sure you'll tell me. But I have had a go at it, yeah.
And so what makes this house so lovable? What is it about it that was really lighting your fire?
Well, I think both Nigel and I love the fact that it's actually built around that tree, so the 2 pods on either side of it, and we've made the tree a feature that you can see from so many different parts of the house. I love that it's got a lot of glass. I love some of the special, you know, little features that Nigel's put in. We've got a big kind of window box that you can lie down in, looking out onto the gums here. He's got a skylight that goes from the roof down to the wall. He's got his big special 3-point-something metre long sliding glass door. And, yeah, just lots of little things that make it a bit special.
You're talking about one tree.
Oh, we've got all the trees.
But you referred to one tree.
special
Well, there's
tree.
one special tree that we purchased the land for, in a way, and it is this towering gum that you see above us.
That one there?
Yeah.
It's got a split trunk.
It does have a split trunk.
It's a dodgy looking thing. Why that one? You've got plenty to select from. And there's a lot of dead branches up there. Are you happy sleeping under these things?
We are. Our parents, Nigel's dad, I don't think will sleep any night that it's windy when we're living here.
But I think because we're going in with an educated approach and getting a project arborist that can not certify it, but really give us, you know, is that a stupid idea or not, and tell us how we can kind of build and do our best to keep the tree. If it falls on us, well, it won't fall on us, but if it does fall on the house, then that's the risk that we're willing to take.
While that's my cue to look up, these two are more focused on what's beneath their feet. Their house amongst the trees has to be economical in size and function. So small it will be, just 135 square metres, spread across 2 co-joined pods, lifted off the ground on piers that will straddle the towering gum in the middle. The timber frame buildings, prized 25 degrees apart, will cater for their specific needs without any trimmings. The sleeping wing will have 3 small bedrooms and 1 central bathroom. An entry link will lead to the living area, 1 large open space covered in Tassie oak that will contain the lounge, kitchen and dining room. A strategically placed skylight over the lounge will put the canopies above on show 24/7, which is what this house is all about, with views of their native garden from every angle. It'll be clad in zinc-loom and spotted gum and punctuated with Nina's cantilevered window box and a massive sliding glass door that will open out to the timber deck. Topping it all off, the rain collected from the skillion roofs will keep the site well watered, which hopefully equals a thriving 20-metre gum tree. And what are your roles going to be? You've designed it already. When the thing starts to get built, what happens then? How's that all going to happen?
Well, basically, our builder will project manage it.
We're only
So
10 minutes away, so it's easy.
We've been very, very fortunate with Nina's parents, and they've allowed us to stay rent-free with them. So I've been living with in-laws for nearly 12 months now. That's allowed us to basically save and do this project. So,
But we're going to have the whole
Minor
thing is on
sacrifice.
a mortgage.
yeah,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
It's a low-cost home, though. It is a low-cost home.
Is it?
It's not grand in cost.
What are you
but
spending?
$260 is our fixed price budget with $0 contingency.
We paid more than we could really afford for the block, but as Nigel said, it was one of the last ones with trees and so close to the beach, and we had to have it.
I can understand that. How long will it take to build?
I've been pretty flexible with the builder
Yeah.
because I was more about getting a decent price rather than pushing him.
So you haven't locked him in too hard?
I haven't locked him in hard at all.
So open-ended?
It is
No, we're
open.
thinking about four months.
But the contract's open-ended?
It's open.
That's okay.
I think
4 months, did you say?
That's what he thinks.
no, he does. He thinks 4 to 5 months because it is a small home.
That is quick.
Yeah,
that is
it is.
scorchingly quick.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I've got a lot of faith in the builder.
And if it's not
his
built in
business.
4 months, is there
Oh,
a
it
problem?
doesn't really matter. You know, I'd love to be able to move in the school holidays. It would make life a lot easier, but that probably won't happen, and it doesn't really matter. We're not going to push to be in before Christmas or anything like that. When it happens, it happens.
It does matter a bit. I'm with in-laws.
There's something rather refreshing, almost naive, about the task Nigel and Nina have set themselves. They share, dare I say, a deep-rooted regard for every bit of their native bush-covered block. But that said, Nigel's decision to integrate a 20-metre gum into his design is, by any measure, courageous.
So we've installed a cable, and it is not so much keeping it alive, but I think just holding it together.
Perhaps it's a case of youthful optimism, or maybe it's me choosing caution over adventure. But even after thorough investigation by an arborist, I'd still be nervous. Nigel, however, is prepared to rethink his whole excavation in order to save not just one tree, but as many as he can.
Yeah, hand excavating, not using machinery. We're going to dig everything by hand. We've asked for Nigel to consider the drainage. We're a little bit concerned about drainage and how the house will affect water getting to the root system.
The way that we've designed is we've kind of put all the piers inwards and cantilevered the sides of the building to the maximum extent of what the timber can do. And part of that is to keep the piers away from the construction. So when Chris was saying, you know, you really need to hand excavate those piers, it's not actually that easy. and practical to do because they're structurally designed to be in an exact spot, give or take 5 or 10 mil. So would you do it?
I think you're brave.
That's not stupid, though.
Not stupid.
Not stupid.
No.
While Nigel's looking for that extra bit of reassurance from someone in the know, he and Nina are forging ahead. It's a huge commitment to one very tall eucalypt, a tree they believe is integral to the design of their house. And so your tree's kind of here-ish. So how have you gone about planning the house around that tree?
Yeah, well, there is a formula. So say the trunk's that, you've basically got this area here, which is your structural root zone. So they're your big roots. And they're the ones that you're not allowed to build within that zone. And then from there, they spread out into much finer feeding roots. And if you actually map the whole site, those roots come all the way out for the majority of the site. So it's been quite a challenge to minimise what we do in that area.
So what's that diameter across that?
It's a few metres. It is a few metres, about 4 metres in total for the diameter.
Could you not have is there such thing as a root survey?
There is. We got an initial price to do an ultrasound.
Like having a baby.
Like having,
good practice.
like having a baby, but we're looking at about $3,000.
It's a lot.
It's a lot when we're just starting on the build as well, but the tree is such an important feature. We've kind of we can't really afford to outlay that, so what we're going to do is just take a bit of a gamble and hope that we don't hit any. Hit and miss, basically.
With no idea about how far-reaching the network of roots spread and little wriggle room to move the location of the piers, Nigel and Josh the builder have to deal with each of the holes as delicately as they can. And hope that none are smack bang over a main artery.
That's the tree, I reckon. We've done 3 holes in the time that they probably would have done 10. So I guess that once again comes back to this whole cost exercise. But just getting the house started, it will take longer to get our house up and going. Once it is up and going, then we've got that peace of mind. So, yeah, I just want them all done.
With half the holes dug, it looks like they could get through day one with all roots intact. But as they move into the 4-metre danger zone, the game of hit and miss is up.
There is one just there, and it does appear to be off that tree, and it's huge. This is one of those piers that I don't think can really be shifted. Can't really come this way anymore because we're getting towards the end of our building, and we obviously don't want to bring it out here more, so we'll just have to cut it. That's one out of, 26 holes. I won't say it's great, but it's...
But don't talk too soon, because you've still got more holes.
After the painstaking hand excavation required to lift Nigel and Nina's nature house in Turners Beach off the ground, they've powered ahead with the framing up in 4 short weeks. The only casualty was one critical root cut out to make way for a pier. But by suspending all the services under the house, the digging is over. Tree still standing.
The tree is doing very well.
We put a whole extra lot of mulch after the floors were up.
Yeah.
Still putting mulch on it.
As soon as the piers went in, we then spent the next weekend mulching around the floors before it was too hard to access. So there's no reason that it should be stressed. Down the end, you've got it's going to be a big picture window to frame that tree.
That's perfect with the tree there.
Nigel's considered every vantage point in this house. Each window will frame one of the trees on the block. It's a fusion of dwelling with native bushland, where all the key players have to work. And while the concept has always been clear, this is Nina's entree into the 3D version.
I think it's exciting for me because obviously Nigel probably knew what it was all going to be like, but it was hard for me just looking at the plans on paper. So now I can really kind of see, you know, where everything's going to be and have a really good understanding of it and the size and what's where. So, yeah, it's very exciting.
So bath will be from about there to there. I guess deep down inside, I've always known as soon as I started sketching this up that, yeah, it was just a wild dream.
Driven by a commitment to go as lightly as he possibly can, Nigel's original plan was taking that to the extreme, building a house perched high in the treetops. His latest design may be more grounded, but his principles hold firm.
What I've struggled with is trying to keep elements of the initial concept in the final design. And I don't really know if they're going to show through until the house is constructed. What I really want is that the house and the design is actually working in conjunction with the tree. But it's just achieving that on a budget. I had thought of putting a skylight above the bed, but I'm not sure what you think of that. Because if you look up about where our bed head would be, it's all canopy.
Yeah, so it would be awake at like 4:30 a.m. in the morning.
Something to think about, Neen.
Money might be tight, but Nigel's ideas keep coming thick and fast. Finances dictate most of them to be scrapped, except for one, his folly. A massive sliding door framed in spotted gum, which put them behind the 8-ball before they even started. At 16 grand, it's the most expensive single item in the house, and it's created a rather substantial ripple effect.
We don't have any contingency, we don't have any savings. No, it hasn't been as bad as I thought. The door blew out a little bit by $6,000 or $7,000, so the bank won't add anything else to our loan. We thought, oh yeah, we'll just go to the bank and bung that on. No. So we used the one little bit of savings that we had to pay for the extra for the door. So now we're down to nothing left to do the decks and the boardwalk and the window furnishings and the lights. So we've got about, what, 4 months to go? Yep. So nothing else will blow out. So we have roof on the house. Oh, good. Is it roof?
Is it really?
Would be.
It's not roof.
No, they've put the trusses up, the walls are up, and half the rafters are up.
It's a scary ordeal taking the first leap into debt. And Nigel and Nina are paddling fast to keep their heads above water.
He's only young, isn't he?
Fortunately, Nina's parents, Belinda and Mick, have come to their rescue.
Yeah, I guess it is hard. Having your own space is something that's pretty important, and it's pretty important when you're just starting out in the marriage as well. So we couldn't ask for better people to live with. It's just the whole scenario that you're living with someone else. It doesn't.
We've got half our old house in like a bedroom and a bathroom upstairs, and we've got, you know, a letterbox next to the bed. We've got stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit of a motivator to get the house finished and get in there, so we can, you know, we're looking forward to having our own space again and kind of, you know, just being us and the dog and doing things at our own time.
As they edge closer to regaining their lives in their own space, the reality of ever-diminishing funds is never far away.
Righto, you right to go? Yep.
Particularly today, as Nigel's massive sliding glass door goes in, all 250 kilos of it.
The door itself is one of the key elements of this house being a success. For Nina and I, because this is a modest house on a modest budget, it's probably the most exciting day that we're going to have on the building site. Like, the cost of the door is 6% of our build, so it is quite significant.
You all right? Hard up. Now down. That's it. Beautiful job. All good? All good.
Beautiful. It's just sitting there now, isn't it? It looks amazing. I mean, well, I'm just, yeah, speechless. I wouldn't have thought that I'd have so few words. I'm just genuinely excited. It's awesome. One thing that we've had to do because of the cost of the door is really scale down our bathroom. But by scaling down the bathroom, we saved a bit of extra money as well. So I guess Nina's not thrilled with that, but she also understands that we don't live in our bedrooms, we don't live in our bathrooms. I think Nina, when she sees the glass go in and when she can, fingers crossed, be able to slide it, I think she'll be very happy and very excited and all the rest will go away. Hopefully. Otherwise she'll go, that was a bit too much for that door.
Our teachers get it for free. We don't need a ticket. So you need maybe 22 tickets.
Nina's approach, however, is much more pragmatic.
I probably am the one who's had to compromise a bit more and give up a bit more for things like Nigel's extremely expensive, beautiful door, and yes, my bathroom is quite small and there's no ensuite. And you can don't know how I'll even get in the laundry door. That's quite small, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's not that important, and it's not really going to affect my life not having an ensuite. But I wouldn't ever want to take away these things that are really special and important in Nigel's vision of the whole house. I think that's going to be money better spent, on these special things that are so important to him, and I'll cope with the rest.
With Christmas looming, any plans to move in over the school holidays are put to the side, as their 4-month schedule goes out the window.
Everything just spirals kind of out of control at this stage. So because the zinc loom cladding's been delayed, it means that Josh can't get in and do the timber cladding, which then means he can't finish the outside and get to lock up. So it's meant that we can't get into our garden, we can't get into the decks, and we can't finish off the link that kind of joins the two buildings, and we just can't get it complete on the outside.
Throw in a 6-week delay on the toughened laminated glass for the Skylight that has to be manufactured on the mainland, and the result is a fully fledged blowout. At least the tree's doing okay. And is it falling into place? The building's here, kind of, and the tree's surviving?
Yeah, I think it's all working beautifully together and, it blends in with the environment, which is what we wanted.
But, Nina, when I look up, you've stripped out all the dead branches, but I do notice the odd one. Now,
yes.
That's going to be right over your bedroom. The bulk of this tree is getting away from the prevailing wind and hanging over your bedroom at night. Now, something like that falling from 20 metres, it's going to be like a bullet. Does that bother you at all? Nina, I'm asking you because...
no, I think we'll be right. We've just had the arborist in again to do a bit of a tidy up, so hopefully it won't happen too much if we keep having him in regularly to get rid of the dead wood. It shouldn't be too much of an issue. We'll cope if there's a little bit falling down.
And you've done nothing to reinforce your roof, make it stronger? You haven't gone for a thicker gauge steel or anything like that?
No, we haven't done anything to reinforce the roof. I guess that's like over-insurance. You only need the bare minimum of protection. We are insured, but I don't think that covers a new wife, so...
It's impossible to ignore what's overhead. And while Nigel has carefully considered the horizontal lines of sight throughout this house, it seems there is an opportunity missed here. I mean, a skylight right here, you'd look straight at the canopy. And if it was lit at night time,
That would be amazing. But that's beyond our means. So whilst it would have made this space even better, unfortunately, it's not achievable for us. And I think that's the key thing that I've got to always remind myself when I think, what about this? It's actually the money.
But you didn't have a contingency, is that the problem?
Yeah, so we can't lend any more from the bank, and so every little bit that we have to add on, we have to come up with in cash. So, yeah, it's not a lot of money, but to come up with it very quickly.
So how are you going to do that,
easy.
Nina? Where do you get the cash from?
We've been saving as much as we can, and we'll probably have to, borrow some from my parents or something like that, because have
you got any other assets you can sell?
I'm going to sell some surfboards.
You're not?
We're going to
I'll be able to get about 1,500 there, so...
Oh, that's devastating.
That is devastating, but it's just what you've got to do, really.
How many surfboards are you going to sell?
Probably 3, 4, maybe.
How many have you got?
A fair few, so it's all right.
How many have you got?
I haven't tallied them up.
He doesn't want to let you know. What Nigel has invested in, though, is making sure that every bush, every tree, every shrub, every iota of his land will be showcased. And it all revolves around how he's positioned the house on the block so close to the road. And in this case, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 metres between the end of the drive almost the street alignment, and their building. So this building's crammed at the front of the property. And when you walk in, it's almost like you're walking in at the back of the house. And in fact, the front door, which appears in many ways like a back door, is sort of very understated, as is the whole entry. And by doing this, by locating the house and the entry so close to the front of the property, they end up with this wonderful oasis, which is more than a backyard. It's like a mini park. And of course, the emphasis on the building, therefore, is on the detailing. And in particular, the cost that's gone into this beautiful but enormous sliding door, which dominates the facade to this house. And there's so much that's gone into making this door and so much financial sacrifice. I mean, they've actually given up a lot of the detail and finesse in the property to be able to create this. And the question I have is would I sell my 3 or 4 best surfboards in compromise to put this door in? And that is a tough question. By the new year, the push is on to get Nigel and Nina's nature house in Tasmania's Turners Beach clad. The zinc loom has finally arrived on site, but delays are the least of Nigel's problems. With finances cut so close to the bone and pressure to perfect the interiors, the focus has shifted to the detailing.
That lintel hasn't actually budged at all.
No.
And if you look at the door, whether that's
right.
just because the door's actually kind of on a bit of an angle anyway, but there's definitely a level difference of like 5 mil between there and there.
Now they're at the pointy end, small cracks are beginning to appear. And Nigel, acutely aware that this is all new territory for him, has had to shoulder the consequences of every detail in the house.
The finesse that's required for these details to make them work the way that I want them to work is something that you really need a professional involved to do. I just don't know if that was like that in the first instance or not.
Yeah, or you can if you go outside, you can sight along the top rail and you can see it's dipped.
It has dipped,
And more than what it was. Like, it did have the slightest little sag in it originally, but obviously it wasn't a problem. But
Nah. So I just wonder if it's the joint or if it's the detailing.
Of all the things that could go wrong, the door that Nigel works so hard to sell to Nina isn't sliding as it should. It's a massive blow that has the build team stumped.
I guess it all comes back to me. If the door's not a success, then Nina looks to me, which is fair enough. I just want it resolved now, not tomorrow or the next day, just so I can have a good night's sleep.
Nothing like a visit to your source of inspiration to get your mojo back. For Nigel, all the effort put into lifting the house off the ground was twofold. Ultimate survival of the trees, but also to create the illusion of a building hovering above the earth.
I've been driving past this place for about 10 years, and every time I see it, I just think, wow, that is something. Like, I love this shed. I just love how it kind of blends in with its surround. The rust is quite a soft look. It's got a texture to it. It's ever-changing, and I really love the colours, the reds, which will reflect in our spotted gum, and then the way that there's no reflection at all on this surface. It's quite a matte surface. I want something that's got character and a bit of personality. I don't want a house that looks shiny and new. I want the house to look like it has actually been there forever. And if I can just incorporate a little bit of that into our house, just to add a bit of character, so it isn't something that's just been, you know, machined, so to speak, and it's all perfect. I just want something that's a little bit untidy.
But Nigel's moment of respite is short-lived. As the Zinc-loom cladding takes effect, his idea of a floating earth ship has somehow, in his mind, morphed into something else.
Oh, my concern is that not really settle in and kind of blend into the trees, and it'll stand out and look like, I don't know, a spaceship or just a big bit of tinfoil. The tinfoil hat, which is not what I want. I'm happy with the workmanship, but I'm not necessarily happy with the appearance of it. But I think I'm hoping, once I get the timber on as well, then it'll really work with each other. So time will tell, but at the moment it's a bit nerve-wracking.
Adding to Nigel's woes, work is stalled inside. The building has to be watertight before they can finish the interior, get the floors down and begin the joinery. This was not in Nigel's plan, and his inability to control the uncontrollable is taking its toll.
Every day I go out there and I see something and it's not necessarily done exactly how I'd like or exactly how it's detailed, but, you know, then the house isn't finished, but seeing it in this state where it's progressing very slowly and it's out of my hands, it's just something that I see quite stressful because it's out of my control. And I've basically just got to put all my trust in the builder and his team to ensure that what they do is what I'm trying to achieve at the end of the day.
You know, Nigel is his own toughest critic. Not only is he suffering from the "I'm almost finished but just can't get to the end" blues, but he's trying to cram as many of his design ideals into the building that he can. But striving for that level of perfection on a limited budget is giving him no end of grief. He needs to relax. He needs to take one step at a time.
Big day today. We've got the glass for the Skylight going in finally. It's been a couple of months in the making, and now we're finally here, so hopefully everything goes smoothly and it fits.
As $4,000 worth of toughened laminated glass is manoeuvred around the main gum to be hoisted onto the roof, all Nigel can do is hold his breath, in the hope that both pieces survive the lift, along with the tree. Any slip-ups here will add at least another month to their already ailing schedule.
Yeah, that was probably the most nerve-wracking experience I reckon I've had in my life. It's bloody heavy, so they're doing a great job. Had all the confidence in the world until they actually went to lift it, and I was like, oh, shit, there goes a piece of glass.
Down. You don't want to put one of them cups down.
Nigel and Nina are the first to admit their differences, but they've negotiated their way through the ups and downs of building on a shoestring budget, relatively unscathed.
I'm making a massive cushion for our cantilever daybed window box. It's vintage Indian camphor quilts, so all handmade a long time ago. So I was very excited to get them and bring a little bit of colour into the very white and wood house.
With the impending fit-out, how Nigel's preference for the austere will marry with Nina's more colourful flamboyance remains to be seen.
You know, he is very fussy, but luckily we do have a similar style, and I know that he will be going through and trying to throw out a lot of my things as we go, but I think we'll come to a compromise.
Finding that middle ground has always been Nigel's internal battle. He's questioned a number of his decisions, like the zinc-aluminum cladding that didn't quite match his vision. Perhaps the spotted gum timber boards will help dispel some of that doubt.
What do you reckon?
Pretty bloody good. Yeah, nah, love it. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, I love it. It's beautiful. Looks good with the zinc, I reckon. Ties in real well.
It's the nicest piece of the house so far. A lot of doubt I've had in my design for the zinc-aluminum, but seeing the spotted gum, I've never really thought, oh, is that going to work, is it not going to work? I think it just really looks amazing and the colours work really well with the landscape. It's got this kind of natural imperfection about it. Seeing it now, I don't have to visualise what it's looking like, and I've got some certainty about the choices that we've made so far.
After resolving what was an expanding timber problem with the sliding door and making some adjustments to the mechanics, it's once again under the spotlight. This time, it's sagging.
I reckon what's happened is basically because of the tree roots around here, they've shifted some piers and probably not really noticed that they've actually made a span quite large. Probably in the worst spot possible as well, being directly under that door. So we've had the trouble with the door frame not sliding freely. This may have contributed to that.
With so few piers as support, Nigel's 250-kilo door has simply dropped because of its weight.
So basically we're going down about 600 mil deep with this pier hole. We're going to fill it up with concrete. We're going to brick up to the underside of this bearer here, and basically that'll stop any sag from this bearer.
I think that came about because there was a lot of pressure from me on minimising the amount of piers. So we were actually pushing the design to the extent of what it was actually capable of doing. But what was kind of a bit of an oversight was that you've got this door that has bugger all tolerance in what it can handle in regards to movement. How was it?
Wasn't too bad. Couple of roots in there.
Couple of roots, very big?
Yeah, pretty big. So big. Just shifted the hole one way, so...
Yeah, so you were able to avoid them?
Yeah, yeah.
Good work.
Yeah.
I was a bit concerned about that.
Now 5 months over schedule and heading towards a blustery Tassie winter, Nigel's faced with yet another potential stall. A crucial decision that could make all the difference to the survival of the hero tree.
Now that we are winding up to the end of the build, we're actually going through the process of getting things signed off. And my biggest concern at the moment is the reticulated stormwater design. There's a new plumbing inspector and they might not be as open to this idea of self-managing stormwater on the site.
If he doesn't get the go-ahead, Nigel will not only lose all the water on site, he'll be forced to do the one thing he railed against: disturb the tree's ecosystem.
The stormwater system's in the back corner of the block there, so I'd have to trench all the way through to there at sufficient cover to meet the requirements. And that also means that I'd have to trench that area of roof as well, which would be cutting directly across the root base of the tree, which this whole process is about avoiding doing that. If I can't do this, I'll have to divert the water elsewhere. It's just going to go back out into the ocean. So my view is to keep it here, keep it feeding the tree. It is fundamental to the design. I need to do everything I can to protect it.
Imagine arriving home every night to your ideal holiday destination, to a living environment that immersed you in holiday mode just by walking in the front door. It's an ideal that Nigel and Nina Eberhardt aspired to achieve almost a year ago, with their house amongst the trees in Tassie's Turners Beach. A house that would transport them to another time and place, when family holidays ruled.
Hi, Nigel. G'day, Peter. How you going?
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too, mate.
Nina, how's things?
Thank you.
Yeah. Look at you.
Yes, I've grown since last time.
Growing, you're about to explode. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're gorgeous.
Thank you.
And the house is done just in time for it.
Just in time,
Yes,
just in time.
good timing.
Finished the house with a month to spare.
Is that right? Do you see the finish line coming up? Oh, well done. And the timber just glows.
Yeah, it fits in beautifully, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? It's the eucalypt amongst the eucalypt.
It is, which works in well. Especially we've had to cut some of the trees, so the sap's kind of coming down there, and then sometimes you see the sap beside the cladding, and like, it just looks the same.
That's all part of the master plan.
It is, that's exactly right.
It looks incredible.
Exactly what we want.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's get in there.
Yeah, right, yeah.
If that's okay.
Want to have a look?
Yeah. From the outset, there is a kind of relaxed tone here. A certain calm and sense of seclusion, winding around the boardwalk to the entrance. And even then, the entree into this hideaway in the trees comes with such subtlety and unpredictability. It really is an unexpected delight. Wow. It is amazing space. It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. The light quality.
Yeah, it's beautiful
good's
and
that?
light in here. It's lovely.
All day long.
Because you've got 1, 2, kind of 3 main sources that sort of floods the whole room.
Yeah, that's it. There's no difference from when you walk outside to inside. In this area, you don't actually feel that you've moved inside, especially when you've got the door open, which hasn't happened much because of the weather, but it will happen a lot more in summer.
Nigel's right about the light. It pervades every part of what is a basic, simple pavilion. And it brings a vibrancy and uniformity, a purity that's accentuated with frameless openings, clean lines, and the high sloping ceiling. A crisp, dynamic space that belies its size, where the attention to detail, right down to the ergonomics, is just so skillfully considered. You've gone to a lot of trouble to do that one skylight. And from where I'm standing, you can't actually see the tree. I mean, is it in the right spot? Have you got enough of them to get the sort of effect that you were trying to achieve?
I feel that from the outside looking in, it's got the effect that I wanted. Inside, maybe not as much, but we don't stand here in our house. We actually sit down, and when you sit down over here, if you have a seat here, all you see is tree canopy.
Oh, yeah, OK. That changes it completely.
Yeah, it does.
You see so much green in this position, don't you?
And so we kind of planned it this way, like we knew the couch would be here.
Yeah,
And so we planned it to be able to sit here and...
No, that's quite incredible, the difference.
And then when you want to see the sky, you just simply move over here. So basically, the other night we had our first thunderstorm since we were in here, and we just kicked back and we just turned the TV off and we were just watching that, just watching the lightning. It was amazing.
Slicing into the building with glass cutouts and the clever zoning of the living area has transformed what could have been an ordinary room into one with personality. So, Nina, is this special area cutting the mustard for you?
Yeah, it is. I love it. I mean, we haven't had a whole lot of time to relax in there lately, but maternity leave, bad start. So I'll be sitting in there with my book, I think. But it's beautiful once you're in there. I'm short enough that I can lie down in it, so it works well for me like that.
So it is your length?
Yeah.
Is it your length, Nigel?
It's not quite my length, but I like the fact that it feels a little bit like I'm camping in my own house because it's quite enclosed.
It's sort of not only protruding out of the building, but it's sort of almost taking to another place. I mean, it looks to me when you hop in there, you're removing yourself into a completely different
It's
room
like, you know,
or
another
space.
little special area.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just something extra, you know. It's not a big house, but it's another little, you know, special spot that we've got. And, you know, it's really nice.
And I think-
I'm happy with it.
I think what kind of makes this space work is that, and it's like a lot of the other windows there are carefully thought about their locations, not for their solar aspect, but also for what's on the site. So this one, I think, really frames that whole yard perfectly. So you could take a photo of that and it would be a perfectly balanced image.
You're that.
I'm very anal.
He thinks about all those things.
I do.
I like it because it's big enough for two, if you want to.
Yeah, it
you can
is.
have a little cuddle in there.
Yeah, you
Yes,
definitely
dog
can.
gets in there
Dog
sometimes
gets
as well.
in there.
All three of you can have a cuddle in.
You definitely can.
And look, this is one of the elements that you really lavished on. The other one is the door.
Yes.
That's the biggest of the elements.
door.
And I can't wait to see how it actually slides and opens.
Go for it.
Because you really sacrificed so much for this one feature, this one element.
But
We
it's...
did.
And has it been worth it?
To me, it has. I mean, I didn't have a brief for this house.
Come and stand here.
But
in
Nina...
it. You got to stand in it to
Yeah,
feel it.
You do, but Nina said, like, she really, one of the things is she didn't want a multi-storey house. She wanted something that was level to the ground. Obviously, I want to build a house that's up off the ground so I'm not damaging the site.
Yes.
I
Not
just
have
wanted
to
it to
make
be
it an effort.
easy, you know, outside to in. Didn't want it to have to be a whole big excursion for the children to play outside. Just wanted it, you know, to flow.
And the trade-off, Nina? I mean, are you missing that extra toilet, that extra bathroom?
Yes, I mean, we are. You know, we don't have an ensuite because of having this door, but, I mean, honestly, I'm not ever going to spend a lot of time in an ensuite anyway. And now that we're in here, I'd much rather have this than have all the other bits and pieces in that end of the house that we don't use much. You know, I think it makes it. Without this, it wouldn't be anywhere near as special or as striking.
Now, one of the things that you always wanted was just to feel more like a holiday house than a permanent home. Do you think you've nailed that?
I think it's the way that the house is quite subtle in its setting and the way that we've used not the house to be the main feature, but actually the existing site. All we've done is really highlight what's already here.
Yeah.
Because you don't get, like, the holidays I'm trying to invoke are ones where you go camping down the East Coast. You don't have a holiday in suburbia with no trees, and that is part of what's made it what it is.
Yeah, yeah. And you've achieved a lot, you know. I mean, this is a finely detailed house, you know. It's been worked and worked heavily.
Yeah, well, I wanted to have something that reflected our personality and so by scaling things back, scaling the size back and really thinking of the core functions the house needs to provide, we're able to do these, what are quite almost lavish details, especially around the glazing and things like that, which do add to the overall feel of once you're in the house.
Yeah, yeah. And it's unconventional building because of those details. Yeah. And I'm just amazed that you were trying to achieve all that for, I think it was $260,000 at the outset, which is a very affordable house. What did you end up spending?
So all up, we spent $285. So we
Not much over your budget.
Yeah, and but that's everything. That's like all the landscaping, all the external,
driveway.
Decks, driveway widening, full fit out. So that's everything.
Of course, there is another wing dedicated entirely to sleeping. It carries the same flavour, the same Nigelisms that bring a simple, pared-back pragmatism. It feels a bit like a secret garden, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
There's a lifestyle here that captures summer breezes and trees swaying above two beautifully integrated pavilions, bound by materials that have a resonance with the landscape. And managing the stormwater, I see it's just going to cascade off that downpipe and land in this pit.
It does beautifully.
And is all that working?
It's working extremely well. Water comes in and then goes out into the pipes that are fed under the house to feed the tree, and we haven't had any issues with it.
And Nina, with Bub on the way, how do you feel about baby sleeping underneath the tree?
I don't really think about it, to be honest. I feel completely safe in there. I think other people think about it and probably worry about it, but it doesn't. No, I feel
no extra
safe.
responsibility? No extra...
No, the baby's kind of down the other end of the house.
See? And you've only got one possum here?
At this stage, one that we can see.
And a big journey. Was it a pleasurable one, or was it tough going? Nina, you're probably best to answer this.
It was a bit of both. I think it was probably more intense for Nigel because he was taking on so much of it because he'd drawn it all, he'd designed it all. You know, it was really his thing, whereas I was just a bit more blasé about it. But, you know, I'm very proud of the way he's coped with it and the way he's dealt with it, you know, and I knew that he'd be fussy right from the start, but, you know, he's got around it all and it's, you know, it's finished off and it's amazing.
I mean, Nina has said, like, they're very nice words, but she has said, I don't think we'll do this again.
Not anytime soon.
Or at least not anytime soon.
And you know, you always wanted to have a house in the trees. That was the original idea, Treehouse.
Yep.
Do you think you've got a version of that?
I think we've definitely got a version of that with the money we've had. I don't think we could have had more of a tree house on the budget we've got.
And is it off the ground enough to give you the sense of being in a tree house?
No. It never will be unless it's 6 metres up in the canopy.
So that's the defining measurement?
That's the limit.
I don't know if that'll happen.
That's when I've achieved a true tree house.
We have to build a cubby house for the one on the way.
I know, that is next on the list. But not too high, apparently. Yeah.
Well, this place certainly makes one hell of a statement. It's what I call a cost-defying creation. A building that forces its designer to be frugal on every front, to be clever with size, materials and finishes, to stay within the boundaries of what was affordable. This is testament to what is achievable with vision, patience and a minimal budget. I think there should be more homes like this one, more Nigel and Nina's that aren't limited by lack, but are inspired by it.